Hey, this is Mac, and I have got my Arrma Kraton here. I bought this truck about a year and a half ago, and I did a quick review, I believe, before, and a long-term review. And I was asked by some people to do a longer term review just to kind of see how it held up, even with more driving. So I haven't driven it a ton as much as I have before. Work's been real busy, so but overall I probably have driven this truck at least 100 times. So and I have had, I believe, nothing break other than the shock, the washers that hold the shock piston in place, and the shock pistons themselves have snapped. The shock washers just kind of bent. That's it. I have some wear on the output cups and the pins on the dog bones and the drive line here and there, and like in the back here, there's some wear on these differential drive cups. Oh, on differentials. Okay, I have stripped out, I think, one set of gears on the internally, the bevel goes inside the diff, and I think the front diff, I have a I started stripping the ring gear of the ring and pinion gear, and the pinion gear that goes inputs from this drive cup into the differential, and then that ring gear that's the external on the differential. I started stripping that ring gear, and I got some team associated diff shims, and I put some on this on that ring side of the differential, and it's been holding so far after about a dozen runs. So even though it started slipping, just shimming it helped. So I would look up that size. Tim associated, like RC8 diff shims work, and if you put some diff shims on that ring side, anytime you decide to go through and change the oil, the grease in your diffs, I would just add them, even if you're not having trouble, and it really helps a lot. I only run 4S. I read on some forums that if you run 6S, it's a must. Just go through and make sure, well, anyways, make sure you Loctite all your grub screws and anything that's metal and metal screw contact, and then add your shims on your differentials, and that'll help your drivetrain hold up over time, especially running 6S. A couple things to watch out for. These turnbuckle ends, they do get a little worn out here where they snap onto those ball ends. Those get worn out, and I had a couple pop off in runs, but it's not a big deal. You can snap them back on. I have lost, I don't know if you can see this, but right here where the arm meets this pillow ball, I lost all those little clips. I went down to the hardware store and just bought washers. I can't remember what size they are. I think they might even be a 1/4 inch or just a hair bigger than that actual size, and then I stuck those in between just to give a little bit of a space between where the pillow ball bottoms out against the arms, so that your CVDs and or dog bones don't push too hard up against your drive cup here. There needs to be a tiny little bit of slop in there, so as your suspension loads up, you don't push up against that drive cup and cause binding on your drive shaft that could end up bending it. And mine have some slight bend in it, but I have never taken them out and tried to straighten them. They bent a little bit after the first like dozen runs when I first got it, And then they never really bent much more, and I never really bothered to fix it. I just kind of let it go to see what happened, and they just kind of stayed that way, and it doesn't really bother me at all. The terrain I run in so rough that you don't notice that slight little wobble. The stock wheels and tires, I think I mentioned before, the stock tires that came on this is the version 1, have like hardly any traction, and I did strip a wheel hex out. I went with Proline trenchers. I've stripped out one of those hexes. I'm in the process right now of ungluing those tires from the wheels. I got some new wheels, and I'm gonna put those back on. The Proline trenchers have horrible foams in them. One of them completely disintegrated. I took the tire off the wheel, and it was literally gone, just dust inside. The foams that came stock in I'm gonna grab it real quick, in the Kraton. So here's the foam inside the trencher. This one here, I just unglued the wheel and tire. I took that out, and this one is the best shaped one I've actually removed of the 3 I think I've unglued so far. This is what comes in the stock wheel and tire for the Kraton. It's a little denser, and it's held up well. Obviously I haven't really driven on them, so I don't know how they're going to hold up, but they feel a lot denser. It's a denser foam, and it holds its shape a little better. I put a couple of these in my trenchers, and I'm going to do the rest of them. So I kind of cannibalized the stock wheels and tires, and I'm taking all the foams out. So if you get a chance on the Proline trenchers, maybe get different foams, because I was really disappointed in how quickly the Proline's foams disintegrated. Anyway, so the shocks are okay on this. I wish that the springs were longer. I'm a member at Ultimate RC. That's a constant running problem with trying to get some longer springs. Some people have tried like Techno springs and different brands to try to get something a little bit longer. I just had mine cranked. My shock collar just cranked all the way down, and I'm running like 90 weight oil in these. There's a lot of pass through on these pistons, so longer springs would be nice. Other than that, the shocks they're okay. This was version 1, so I have an old MT4 G3 speed control and motor setup. I've never really run the stock electronics in this. I have a Sinton that I ran the stock motor, but a different ESC. And for the Sinton, the stock motors was okay, but for this bigger truck, it was lacking a lot of power. So anyway, like you can see, I have my MT4 G3 bumper on there, and so if you're in the market for a monster truck truggy, I still highly recommend this. It's lasted a good long while. It's been fairly durable. I run it all the time. It's a blast to drive, and I have not been disappointed. I don't think anyone will really be disappointed. In RTR, across all brands, there's some given things you're probably gonna have to replace or upgrade, is like stock wheels and tires and servos and just some different components. Like each brand kind of has their own shortcoming, and so just gotta figure out what that is. So like sometimes a company will throw in a better servo than another, or they might have a better stock motor, but usually something in the electronics, the servo or something on the chassis will be a weak spot or a problem that has to be resolved. And this one here is the wheels and tires and the stock servo, and then the version 1 electronics. The new version 2, which I just got in, has the new upgraded speed controller and motor. And I think that I noticed on Tower they have a version 2 speed controller gears. So I'm thinking they upgraded the servo internal gears, but they didn't actually do an announcement or anything of that. Thank you for watching, and I hope this helps. So after a year and a half of driving this thing, I would highly recommend anyone to get it. I wouldn't say it's the best one on the market. I haven't owned them all, obviously, but I would say for the money, you get a really good, just casual basher that you can have a lot of fun with without a huge investment compared to the other ones. It's still, after a few upgrades, you're still not quite at the price of what it would take to buy like a Losi or something, and or like Traxxas. So I think they did a great job on this 8 scale line. So thanks for watching.